In the West, dragons are killers. They burn cities, crush knights, and hoard gold while waiting to be slain. But in Chinese mythology, that image is wrong. Here the dragon is not a beast of chaos, but a power of order, a force that holds the world together. To the Chinese, dragons are the veins of the earth and the breath of the sky. They summon rain, split rivers, and decide if a kingdom will live or die. And among them, 7 are feared above all others, the 7 most powerful dragons ever named. These are not fantasy decorations carved in stone or drawn in children's books. They are entities with purpose, guardians of elements, each ruling a domain that cannot exist without them. Together, they are the skeleton of the cosmos, 7 rulers whose reach touches every part of creation. When the farmers of ancient China cried out for rain, they were begging a dragon. When emperors declared their right to rule, they wrapped themselves in dragon robes because no symbol carried greater weight. The dragon was the mark of heaven's approval. In the Western mind, slaying a dragon means triumph over evil. In China, angering one meant the collapse of life itself. Imagine a creature so feared that even emperors sacrificed in its honor, a being so essential that whole dynasties rose and fell by its favor. This is the world we are stepping into now. These 7 dragons are not all alike. Some soar above the heavens, guarding the throne of the gods. Others crawl unseen beneath the soil, stirring waters that humans never touch. One lights the sun and snuffs it out at will. Another waits inside the mountains, wrapped in treasure that kings risk their lives to claim. Each of them is an absolute ruler of its realm, and none can be challenged without consequence. But power is never equal. Among these dragons there are ranks. There are names that terrify even their own kind. And it is those 7 that we will reveal, one by one, opening the scrolls to show how they built the order of heaven and earth. You are about to see a different kind of dragon, not a monster to kill, but a sovereign to fear. The 7 most powerful dragons of Chinese mythology. Shenlong is the dragon that no human could ever ignore, because he holds the key to survival itself. His body is long and serpentine, winding through the sky like a river made of scales that shimmer with the colors of a storm. His beard hangs thick and heavy, swaying like streaming rain, and his eyes burn like thunderclouds lit from within. Shenlong is not a dragon of fire, but of water, air, and life. When he rises, winds howl and clouds gather, and when he stirs his tail, the rain falls in sheets that can either save a kingdom or drown it. Ancient China lived and died by agriculture, and the crops rose or withered according to the rain. A single season of drought could mean famine, uprisings, and the collapse of dynasties. That is why Shenlong was more than a legend. He was the line between prosperity and ruin. Without him, no grain would sprout, no river would flow, and no harvest could be gathered. It was said that emperors themselves built altars to Shenlong, climbing high platforms and offering sacrifices under the burning sun to plead for water when the earth cracked open. When the drought dragged on, the ceremonies grew desperate. Great drums thundered to mimic his voice. Dancers waved banners shaped like clouds, and shamans burned incense thick enough to choke the sky. They believed Shenlong would hear, his eyes opening above the horizon, and if he was pleased, rain would fall in torrents that soaked the fields. But if he was angered, storms arrived instead, tearing roofs from houses and flattening entire villages beneath floods. Farmers and rulers alike feared his temper, for Shenlong was not a gentle spirit, but a master who demanded respect. His coils wrapped around the cycle of life, and no one could disobey. The dragon of rain was carved on temple walls, painted on banners, and sewn into the robes of emperors who claimed his favor. His image appeared above wells and irrigation canals, reminders that water flowed only by his grace. To insult Shenlong, even in words, was to gamble with death. A single wrong ritual could call lightning instead of rain, punishment instead of mercy. He was the dragon who could give life by filling the fields and take it by drowning them. That is why Shenlong was feared as much as he was worshipped. His strength was survival itself, his power the authority to decide whether humans ate or starved. But if Shenlong is mighty because he rules the skies and commands the rains, there are dragons whose influence goes deeper into the hidden layers of earth and heaven, dragons whose reach stretches beyond storms and crops, shaping forces that even emperors could not see. Dilong begins at the base of the world, the dragon of the earth whose body coils through the soil and whose breath rises as mist from hidden springs. His scales are dark and damp like stone soaked in rain, and his claws dig into the ground to hold the waters beneath. Where rivers break free from mountains or wells bubble up in deserts, the ancients believed Dilong had stirred. Without him, the fields would crack open and the rivers would vanish into dust. He is the pulse of the underground, the guardian of fertility, feeding the roots of every stalk of rice. Farmers whispered his name when digging into the earth, because if Dilong was angered, the veins of water could dry up and nothing would grow again. His realm is unseen but indispensable, and his silence is as powerful as a storm. Rising above him is Panlong, the dragon of lakes and swamps, the master of stagnant waters where humans fear to tread. Panlong is rarely glimpsed in the sky. Instead, he hides beneath the green surface of marshes, wrapped in reeds and drifting lily, his coils stirring only ripples on the water. He is a dragon of mystery, his domain filled with fog and secrets. To see him meant a moment of fate, for Panlong was known to emerge only when something was about to change. He does not command with thunder, but with patience, storing power in places where people rarely look. Lakes and swamps may appear lifeless, but they are the storehouses of vitality, and Panlong keeps their balance. His eyes are said to glow from beneath the surface, like lanterns flickering in the depths, warning fishermen and travelers that not all waters are safe. Panlong is less a dragon of violence than of waiting, a guardian who decides when waters will give life and when they will swallow it. Above both Dilong and Panlong soars Tianlong, the celestial dragon, vast and radiant, whose body arcs across the heavens like a constellation brought to life. Tianlong coils around the stars, a serpent of light guarding the gods themselves. His roar is the wind across the mountains, his breath the glowing edge of dawn. He does not feed rivers or guard swamps. He holds the sky itself in order, ensuring that heaven does not collapse into chaos. To the emperors of China, Tianlong was the ultimate protector, the symbol of divine legitimacy. When they declared themselves sons of heaven, it was under Tianlong's gaze, believing his protection affirmed their right to rule. No dragon embodied the majesty of heaven more completely than he, and no mortal could look upon his image without bowing. Together, these three form a trinity that spans the pyramid of existence. Dilong anchors the earth, Panlong holds the waters, and Tianlong commands the heavens. From the soil underfoot to the clouds above, their domains interlock, each dragon sustaining a layer of the world. Without Dilong, the rivers dry. Without Panlong, the lakes stagnate. Without Tianlong, the skies fall into disorder. The order of the cosmos is not held by chance, but by the coils of these three dragons, binding earth, water, and heaven into one unbroken chain. Yet even this trinity, as vast as it is, cannot eclipse the dragons whose domains lie deeper, in fire-lit caverns, and in the cycles of light and darkness that govern existence itself. Fuzanglong rules where sunlight never reaches. He coils through caverns lined with ore veins and pillars of crystal, a dragon whose scales catch the dim glow of subterranean fire and throw it back as shifting sheets of gold. His body is thick with mineral sheen, as if hammered from bronze and lacquered by the earth itself, and his eyes burn like embers lodged in coal. When Fuzanglong moves, the mountain remembers. Stone grinds on stone, chambers boom like drums, and the ground above murmurs with quiet tremors that can grow into the roar of an earthquake. The ancients said that when a volcano opened, it was the breath of Fuzanglong escaping, heat rising off his back as he turned in his sleep. He is not merely a hoarder of glittering objects. He is the keeper of the resources that build and break civilizations. Gold for coinage, copper and tin for bronze, iron for plows and swords, jade for rights that bind human promises to heaven. All of it lies under his protection. Minds that prosper are places where Fuzanglong looks kindly upon human hands. Minds that collapse are places where greed spoke louder than reverence. In kingdoms that endured, rulers honored Fuzanglong first. Offerings were carried down into the dark. Incense burned in wet air, and water was poured onto bedrock so the dragon would cool his temper and steady the mountain. Imperial workshops stamped dragons onto coins and ritual vessels to invoke his favor, asking that the flow of metal never run dry and that wealth remain stable from harvest to harvest. The treasury was not only a room in a palace, it was the dragon's cavern extended into human law. Fuzanglong hears oaths. He punishes theft taken with sacrilege. He turns veins to dust when kings cut tribute to the gods and squeeze the miners instead. He can lift a dynasty by keeping ore pure and plentiful, or sink it by salting the stone with disappointment until tools snap, fires sputter, and smelters give nothing but slag. To meet him in a vision is to see a ridge of scales sliding under strata, claws leaving furrows in bedrock, whiskers trailing sparks that trickle into springs of quicksilver. To anger him is to feel the floor breathe, once and then surge, beams buckling, lamps bursting, the tunnel groaning as if swallowed by a living throat. Fuzanglong's power is not the sudden fury of a storm, but the deep leverage of supply. He feeds armies without lifting a claw by letting iron flow. He builds palaces without touching a brick by letting gold move from rock to mint. A wise ruler treats wealth as a loan from Fuzanglong and returns it in rights, restraint, and honest weights. A fool forgets the dragon and learns that mountains can bite. Shenlong kept kingdoms alive with rain. Fuzanglong decides whether kingdoms can build anything with the life they are given. Yet there is a dragon whose command reaches beyond stone and metal, one whose gaze turns dawn to day and day to night, a power that writes time itself across the sky. Zhulong does not live in a cave or curl around a temple roof. He carries a fire that writes the border between day and night. His body is a vast serpent, banded with the red of embers and the black of soot, and his face is human, stern as a judge. In one hand, he bears a cosmic torch that never burns out. When Zhulong opens his eyes, the world brightens, as if a veil were torn from the sky, and when he closes them, darkness pours across valleys and seas. His breath rules temperature. Drawn in, it hardens the air until frost bites bark and river, and blown out, it loosens winter's grip and sets snow running in silver threads. People say the monsoon begins when his chest swells and the winds learn his rhythm. They also say a killing cold arrives when that chest holds still and the world forgets how to move. Unlike the dragons of rain or ore or sky, Zhulong does not govern a single resource. He governs sequence. He is the metronome of existence. When he leans his torch low, the shadows grow long, and the year grows lean. When he lifts it high, the light fattens and fields drink heat until grain nods heavy in the heads. Sunrise is his eyelid lifting. Sunset is his eyelid dropping. That simple act decides when birds leave their nests, when predators hunt, when fishermen launch boats, when priests climb steps to greet the first line of gold on the horizon. Entire calendars trace the habit of his torch. Festivals rise because he turned toward a region and sowed it with light. Days of mourning arrive because he turned away and laid it under a long night. Mountains reflect him. When he turns his face, ridges shine like blades and deserts glare. When he turns his back, peaks disappear into a single wall of ink and coasts vanish under a lid of black water. Nothing escapes the reach of a dragon who writes time. Even emperors bowed to Zhulong by ordering their rituals to begin with dawn and end with dark, knowing that law enforced against his current only breaks the people who live under it. Temples to the sun are temples to his gaze. Watchtowers that announce first light serve as altars to his torch. In winters that refused to end, farmers stood in fields of glass and begged for the warmth hidden in his lungs. In summers that blazed until soil cracked, they asked him to lower the flame by half so seedlings would not cook in their own shade. Zhulong does not answer with words. He answers with hours, and the world obeys. This is why he is frightening even to other dragons. A storm can be stilled. A river can be diverted. Stone can be tunneled. But the ordering of light and dark is the frame in which all other powers act. Take it away, and harvests lose their season, migrations lose their path, and human plans dissolve like mist. The others rule domains. Zhulong rules intervals, and by intervals, he rules every domain at once. Yet there exists a dragon whose power does not wait on cycles or hidden pressures. A dragon that enters battles and decides fates on the wing, and when he moves, whole dynasties change course. Yinglong is the dragon that breaks the pattern, where the others slither through clouds, burrow under earth, or coil in hidden waters. Yinglong carries wings vast enough to shade valleys and strong enough to tear storms apart. His body is long and muscled, scales glinting like hammered bronze, but it is his wings that mark him as unique. They are ribbed with lightning, feathers of storm cloud trailing from their edges, and when they beat, mountains groan as if their spines might snap. Ancient chronicles say Yinglong fought beside Huangdi, the Yellow Emperor, in wars that shaped the very course of China's mythic past. When rebels rose, Yinglong descended, his talons scattering armies, his roar breaking formations before the first clash of bronze. It was he who chased down the monstrous Qiyu, a demon warlord wreathed in fog and iron, pinning him so Huangdi could strike the killing blow. That act was more than victory. It was proof that dragons did not only rule the elements, but could choose sides in the affairs of humans. Yinglong was not content to remain a symbol on banners. He became the banner itself, the living sign that heaven approved of Huangdi's rule. Kings who came after invoked his image in temples and battle standards, praying he would sweep over their enemies, as he had done for the founder of their dynasty. Yinglong is power incarnate in action. His wings summon tempests that scatter fleets. His claws carve valleys. His dive shakes the ground like an earthquake. Unlike Shenlong, who waits to be called by ritual, or Fuzanglong, who broods over hidden treasure, Yinglong acts. He decides. He lifts empires with one beat of his wings and crushes them with the next. To stand beneath him is to be deafened by wind and blinded by sparks, as if the sky itself had chosen to fall. To follow him is to believe destiny has taken form and chosen your side. The ancients said his shadow alone could mark the rise of an age, and his departure its fall. He is the dragon of intervention, the one who steps out of heaven and into history, not merely governing nature, but rewriting it. And so our seven are complete. Shenlong, the bringer of rain and survival. Dilong, Panlong, and Tianlong, the trinity of earth, waters, and sky. Fuzanglong, the guardian of riches hidden in stone. Zhulong, the master of light and darkness, who turns days and years. And Yinglong, the winged dragon whose strength crushes demons and crowns emperors. Together, they are not ornaments or fantasies, but the pillars of Chinese mythology, the seven forces through which the world breathes, grows, and endures. Rain, earth, sky, waters, treasure, time, and victory. Each dragon a sovereign, and together an empire of powers greater than any kingdom of men. The scrolls tell us that dragons are not only rulers of nature, but messengers of heaven, and their true power is far beyond what humans can comprehend.